Hey guys, Mike here. So today I'm here to talk to you about the Aeronauts. In this review I'll be going over a brief summary of the plot, my quick thoughts about the film and whether or not you guys should go and see it. So I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler free. However, if you don't know anything about the film and you want to go completely blind, then it's just come back to this video once you've seen the film. So with that, let's get started, shall we? So the Aeronauts stars Eddie Redmayne as James Glacier and Felicity Jones as Amelia Wren. So the Aeronauts is set in the 1860s and James Glacier is trying to prove that the weather can be predicted. The only problem is he needs to try and get up high enough so he can test his theory. So he needs to find someone with an air balloon that will take him all the way up there so he can get the readings that he needs to prove his theory. So he enlists the help of Amelia Wren and a balloon to go up there to prove whether his theory is right or wrong. And so we have the Aeronauts. So, going into this movie, I wasn't really all that excited about it. The main reason I went to go see this in the end was pretty much to go see a movie. I thought the premise was a little bit uninteresting, and though I do think that Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones are decent actors, I wouldn't exactly put them really high up as some of my favourite actors. But you know, I thought maybe the visuals might save this one, and it might actually be better than I thought it would be. So, what did I think of the movie? Well, pretty much from the first couple of minutes, you notice how disjointed this movie is. It pretty much starts from the middle point, carries on a bit more, goes back to the start, then goes back to the middle, and then just kind of flip-flops around constantly, and it never kind of stays still enough for you to kind of, like, figure out what's going on, really. Not that this story is, you know, particularly complex, but it doesn't really hold on a single scene for you to, you know, have any interest in what's going on, really. And doing the movie in this way kind of removes a lot of the tension, a lot of the suspense of the movie as well. Because there's this one scene in the middle of the movie where Felicity Jones' character pulls out of the whole thing and doesn't want to go up in the air. This is obviously not what happens because you see at the start of the movie that she does go in the balloon. So you're never sitting there thinking, oh, maybe she won't go in the balloon after all. What's gonna happen? You already know what's gonna happen, so having this scene in there at this point is completely pointless. But then you think, maybe the reason that they've structured the movie in this way is because they're going to show you the lead up to it. They're going to show you how they secured the funding to actually get the balloon and just a little bit more about why she agreed to it in the first place. But no, you don't really get that. You get a scene at the start where they're going inside the balloon. This geezer comes up and talks to them saying, I put a lot of money into this expedition and I expect results. But you never see how they convince him to put the money into it. You know, I don't think you even really see him throughout the rest of the movie. But obviously, the main draw of this movie is seeing the expedition up in the air. So, how are the visuals and how's the story from that perspective? Well, first of all, I think the visuals and all the landscape shots would have been a little better had I seen them in IMAX. But I did see this movie in standard 2D, so, you know, I have to approach it from that angle. And while the visuals are, yeah, you know what, they're somewhat impressive, but they're nothing we haven't seen in other movies before, or they're nothing that hasn't been done better in movies that came out probably, say, 10 years ago. So while the visuals are certainly pretty, they're nothing really to write home about. So the next thing is, how are Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones together? Well, they've obviously proved they have decent chemistry on screen before, and that they do work well together. And while they don't do anything particularly bad in this movie, it's nothing really groundbreaking or amazing that, you know, you'd probably be writing a massive review about. It's just they go on expedition, they become better friends because of it, and that's pretty much all it is, really. And obviously, like I said at the start, the premise of this movie didn't really interest me all that much because I just really couldn't understand the significance of this movie. But there is this one scene where Eddie Redmayne's character really does explain the importance of going on this expedition. The fact that they could, you know, prevent famine. They could regulate their lives a bit better if they just understood how the weather was. And I thought this scene was particularly good. But the only problem was it was such a short scene that you couldn't really take it all in and, you know, really appreciate what he was trying to do. And this was only the one scene where he really does say why he's going on this expedition. So if the movie had done a little bit more stuff like this, or maybe delved a bit more in the philosophy of touching the stars and all that stuff, it might have been a bit better, but unfortunately they don't do enough of this to really justify this premise. Overall, guys, I wasn't particularly impressed with this movie. The visuals are okay, Eddie Redmayne and Felicity Jones are okay, and the movie as a whole is average at best. Honestly, the best way I can describe this movie is pretty much vertical Mad Max. Instead of them going left, driving and coming back, instead they go up, they stay up there for a bit, and then they come back down. That's the whole story. But now, as for whether or not you guys should go and see it, I would not recommend going to see this movie at all. Maybe it's worth seeing in the cinema just to see the visuals, but there's not really anything groundbreaking or amazing that it would really warrant you going to see it in the cinema. Unless you're a massive fan of Eddie Redmayne or Felicity Jones, honestly, I would say give this movie a skip because it's nothing that you'll remember in the next week or so. Okay guys, that's my review of the Aeronauts. If you've seen it, what did you think about it? And what discovery do you think they should make into a biographical pick? Whatever you think, drop it in the comments below. And until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!